Okay, good morning, global politicians. Hope you've got lots of enthusiasm for today's lesson. Okay, so today's lesson we're looking at development again, obviously, and we're really looking at who is developed. How do we perceive countries' development? So in today's lessons, obviously our learning outcome is to use political concepts and examples to formulate, present and sustain an argument. So we're going to do two things today. We're going to rank countries by different methods of development, and we're going to analyze our conclusions. So what conclusions do we come to? And for this, it's going to be on Google Classroom. And we can learn obviously a bit more about development, about GDP per capita. So as we learned last lesson, sort of the main conclusion that we came to, development has many different definitions. Doesn't have a fixed definition, but obviously for global politics we need a definition for it. So the definition that we're going to use is that development means sustained increase in the standards of living in a society. So keep that in the back of your mind in today's lesson. So what I want you to do first is go to your Google Doc, which is called Development Ratings, which is obviously on Google Classroom, and look something like this. And look at, you've been given 10 countries to rank. So what you need to do first is you need to put these 10 countries, Switzerland, Qatar, Sweden, United Kingdom, USA, Indonesia, China, Singapore, Russia and Mexico, into your rankings in this column, your impressions of development. So your top ranked country is going to be the most developed, and your 10th ranked country is going to be the least developed, just based on what you think. Okay, so you're going to put in your your countries into this. Don't look at sort of the internet, don't look at tables, don't look at charts. Do this solely based on your impression, your perceptions of how developed you are. Now, when you've done that, we're going to rank the countries using GDP. So you're going to go to the IMF data mapper for GDP. The link is obviously on Google Classroom as well as in this Google Slides, and it's going to come up with something like this. And as you see, all you need to do is select the country, for example China, and you'll see their GDP, okay, 15.27 thousand billion US dollars. And what you need to do, this is the part where it gets a bit tricky, you need to write this down somewhere. Maybe you want to put it in your table somewhere, and you need to find the 10 countries in here and rank them from the country with the highest GDP goes first, down all the way to 10th. So obviously gross domestic product, I'm sure you've done it in business, is the value of all the goods and services in a state over a period of time. And it's a fairly good estimate, a fairly good snapshot of the strength of a country's economy. So when you've done that, you will have filled in this part of the chart, and it may well look different to this chart. It may look the same. Now what you're going to do next is you're going to do the same again, follow the link. This time we're looking at GDP per capita. Okay, so go to the sites, it should automatically go to GDP per capita, but if not, just go there, it's GDP per capita, and you'll see it may well have a different rating. So for example here, China, it's basically 21,000 US dollars per person, and so I'm sure you've done GDP per capita before. So it's the average income of a citizen of state. So the higher this is, it implies that the standard of living is higher, although remember that this also means that the cost of living is likely to be higher. This doesn't really measure inequality, this just simply divides up your GDP by the number of people in a country. We could use a Gini coefficient to measure inequality, but unfortunately there is not data on all countries. It's something we're going to look at a bit later, but for now it's not very useful because of that. Also the Gatsby curve, which measures how important a parent's wealth is to their children's wealth. But again, there is not data for all countries, but these are things we're going to look at later. So do the same again. And so now you should have filled in your third section. Okay. Next, after this, you're going to do democracy rankings. You're going to use the democracy index. We've used the democracy index before. I'm not going to sort of go through and explain how this is calculated because we looked at this before. Very, very simple. Go to the map, find your country, and it will tell you. Once we have done that, you're going to go to a bit unexpected. You're going to go to the happiness index. Okay, so this is how these scores are calculated. So well-being, so how satisfied residents are with their life, times life expectancy, so it's not much use them being very happy if they die very young, times inequality of outcomes, which tries to measure how unequal society is. And this is all divided by ecological footprint, so the impact each citizen has on the environment. The idea that a country doesn't score very highly on this index if they're all very happy, they all live very long, there's not much inequality, but that country is contributing huge amounts of carbon emissions, for example, per person. Okay, so again, go to the happiness index and it's going to give you a world map, and that is going to, for each country, give you a score, and that score, again, the higher the score, the happiness, the higher the score, the higher you go in the rankings. So once we've done all of that, we should have filled in the first 5 columns, and the last thing you're going to do in this table is you're going to work out the average. So for example, how are you going to do this? So for example, if a country is ranked 3rd, it gets 3 points. So you're going to add up each country's score. So it could be a minimum of 5. That would be if they were ranked 1st in every category. And obviously the maximum score would be 50, which is if they were ranked 10th in every category. And then they're obviously going to divide, and you're going to get an average, divide by 5, and now you're going to rank them with the lowest score first. So here, the lower the average, the higher you're going to go, because that obviously means you've been 1 or 2 throughout. So once you've done all of this, and I know this is going to take some time, you're going to go to another question posted on Google Classroom. So first of all, what you need to do is you need to post your average rankings. Now they're not all going to be the same, because presumably your initial rankings, based on your sort of preconceptions about development, will be different. Which rankings surprised you? Were there some countries that you expected to be ranked very highly that were ranked very lowly, and sort of what did you make of that? Thirdly, what have you learnt about compiling this ranking table about development? You know, what has it told you about how we measure development? And lastly, because there are lots of other ways we can measure development, some of which we're going to look at in the next couple of weeks, what other ways can we measure development? Is this table by itself a fairly good snapshot of development? And that is also posted on Google Classroom. So at the moment I've said that both of these tasks need to be done by the start of our next lesson. If it takes a long time, I may extend the deadline, but for now try to get all of this done this lesson. If you have any questions, I will be on Google Classroom, I will be on Google Hangouts. You can always email me, and don't forget to sign in with the attendance sheet. Okay, good luck, and make sure we have some enthusiasm.